SmackDown this week was a polarizing show because of the show opening angle and the way that it played off of Jeff Hardy's real-life issues. But as I said when the show ended, I enjoyed this episode of SmackDown more than I have enjoyed SmackDown in many, 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 many weeks. It just had a different vibe to it. It was more energetic, in part because they had the NXT folks in the crowd, making noise. That was part of it. But also, it just felt more chaotic, a little more unpredictable because of that main angle. And on top of that, we got a ridiculous segment with Otis and Mandy Rose. Ridiculous in a good way, not a bad way. We got some good action in the ring. So I enjoyed SmackDown this week. Believe it or not. It was a very different open than we are used to seeing on a WWE show. They were going for more realism, which is never a bad thing. I mean, you could certainly go about it in the wrong way. I'm all for trying to do things that inject more realism into the show. This is not something that I would have done. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was a classy angle, because it wasn't. But the way it all started is they had somebody on, literally, like the show just opened, and they had somebody on their cell phone who was shooting, they were filming something that was going on in the parking lot. I like the fact that it wasn't one of their WWE cameras, or it looked like a cell phone camera. Then they cut to one of their cameras shooting Renee Young, who was in the parking lot, trying to document everything that was going on. She's standing in front of a car that had gone up onto a curb, having, I guess, just run down Elias. And somebody witnessed what happened. They said that they saw somebody in black pants and a black shirt take off out of the car. The cops checked the vehicle. They found open liquor bottles. And they found identification in the car for Jeff Hardy. They said it was Jeff's rental car. Kayla Braxton, in a different part of the parking lot, is interviewing Braun Strowman in street clothes, who I guess had just gotten to the building. And she's asking Braun, what happened here? What did you see? And Braun also witnessed the crash, and he kind of described what happened. He was all tongue-tied. Now, Strowman is going to be wrestling a handicap match, as you know, against Miz and Morrison at Backlash, which I hate. But at least we know why. We did find out why. Bray Wyatt and JoJo, they just welcomed their second child, their second member of the Wyatt clan, into this world. So they're giving him a few more weeks off before he comes back as The Fiend. And their grand idea was to do a handicap match with Strowman against Miz and Morrison. So the cops then raced over to the bushes nearby. Jamie Noble is there. Jason Jordan is there. He's in tow. Jason Jordan returns to TV the same week as Chad Gable. How about that? Talk about a coincidence. So they all run over and they find Jeff Hardy passed out in the bushes. And he reeks of the same alcohol that the cops said they smelled in the rental car. They asked him if he had been drinking. He says no. He's totally out of it. He looks hungover. His head hurts. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what's going on. I would say that he was doing a good acting job, but I get the sense that he's probably been in this situation before. So, hey, that's just, his problems are well documented. He did a good job here of acting like somebody who was either drugged, which I'm sure is probably going to be the reveal, or drunk. And they handcuff him. They put the cuffs on Jeff Hardy. They take him to their squad car. Meanwhile, as they're walking by, they pass by Elias, who is being loaded up into an ambulance. Jeff looks concerned. He's like, "Oh, Elias, what's going on?" Like he has no idea what's going on. The ambulance takes Elias to a local medical facility. The cop car transports Jeff to a local law enforcement facility. Elias was scheduled to wrestle AJ Styles in the Intercontinental title tournament. That obviously didn't happen. The storyline diagnosis for Elias, broken ribs and a torn pec. Which, a torn pec is an injury that takes you a few months to come back from. So I don't know if that means that they're going to keep Elias off television for a couple of months, or if they're just throwing this bullshit injury out there, not caring that they've just given this guy an injury that he should not be cleared from for a very long time. Watch him pop up on TV in 3 weeks. And I thought John Cena had mutant healing powers when he came back from his torn pec in like 3 months. Remember when he was a big surprise in the Royal Rumble? They'll have Elias back on TV in 3 weeks. This poor bastard. First he gets bounced from the King of the Ring with an injury. Now he gets bounced from this tournament. I think Elias needs his own roadie. That's what I think. One of the cops, or it was Jason Jordan, I think, is like holding Elias's guitar in the parking lot. Like, what was he performing in the middle of the parking lot when he got run down? Was the person just so disgusted by his music that they could take no more, and they just decided to run this guy down in cold blood? Like, what happened here? He needs a roadie. Get Road Dogg. Road Dogg's already working in the PC. You got a roadie right there. Road Dogg can manage Elias. He can protect him. He can be his bodyguard. Now, I know some people did not like this angle. They did not like the angle for all the obvious reasons. I hope that Jeff was okay with this. You know, it's hard to say. Maybe he said he was, but he really isn't. I hope he was okay with it. Like, genuinely okay with this. It doesn't make it any less tasteless, but if he was not comfortable doing this, and they made him do it anyway, they said, oh, this is the idea, and, you know, he wasn't comfortable doing it, but went along with it anyway, that's disgusting. So I hope that's not the case. The man, you got to remember here, this guy is still due in court for his last DWI arrest in October. He got arrested in October, less than a year ago for DWI. His court date has been pushed back a few times. Now he's due back in court July 16th. It's not a situation where he's kind of out of the woods as far as these problems. You know, when you're an addict like this, these problems don't just go away. They stay with you for the rest of your life. They talk about how it's every one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. He still has a pending court date. It is not a tasteful angle by any means, but I get the story that they're telling here. For weeks and weeks on television, they told us Jeff Hardy's story to build to his return, the rise, the fall, the redemption, the comeback. It was a 4-part story. And they addressed his substance abuse issues. They didn't shy away from it. Now we know why. Now we know why they were so open on television, more than I expected them to be, about the mugshot photos and the arrests, because it was all leading to an angle on TV. They wanted the audience who maybe, you know, there are probably some casual fans or WWE fans who don't know much about Jeff's problems. They don't see all the stories on TMZ. They didn't follow his career when he was in Impact. They don't know about the Victory Road incident. They don't know about any of this stuff. They wanted to educate the audience about all of the demons and all the problems that Jeff has had. So when they shot this angle, which I have to assume was in the makings for a few weeks, it would be more impactful. So they took the time to tell us that whole story, and Sheamus was very upset that Michael Cole would not shut up about the great Jeff Hardy making his grand return. He couldn't wait for Jeff to come back. He's going to make Jeff Hardy's life a living hell. And then when he gets a chance, Sheamus finally gets a chance to win his first Intercontinental title. The one title that has eluded him, not counting the blue belt. I was going to say the big red belt, but now it's blue. This same guy snuffs him right out of the tournament and ruins his chances of becoming the Intercontinental Champion. In the very first round, he bounces Sheamus out of the tournament. So what does Sheamus do? He decides to frame Jeff Hardy and make it look like he relapsed when in reality, he didn't. Because he's that spiteful. He is a spiteful son of a bitch who not only framed him, but then went on to win a battle royal, as he did on this show, and took his spot in the tournament. And Jeff passed his sobriety tests that the cops gave him according to WWE.com. Just in time, they released him just in time to return at the very end of the show and go after Sheamus. That is what is implied anyway. They left this whole thing open-ended at the end of Smackdown. They gave it a bit of a cliffhanger. We don't know yet that he's been framed, but it's obvious that's the direction they're going in here. If the cops cleared him, then obviously he wasn't drinking, so that's where they're going with this. And look, whenever you can end your television show with a cliffhanger, that's never a bad thing. Might be in bad taste, but that's never a bad thing for a TV show, to keep people, you know, wanting to tune in next week to see that story be resolved. I think it would have been a great opportunity to have and maybe it still is, if they can work the SmackDown hacker, which I think it's getting a little ridiculous at this point. Like, let's go already with the reveal. But maybe next week, they come to TV and the SmackDown hacker has some footage that he would like for us to see. Maybe Sheamus and Corbin, they conspired together because they took out Elias. Corbin's had his issues with Elias. I mean, I know it was AJ that he was going to be facing in the tournament, but Elias and Corbin have been feuding going back to before WrestleMania. Maybe the two of them conspired together. Maybe there's locker room footage or parking lot footage of the two of them, scheming together. And maybe the hacker will help reveal all of this. But they left it open-ended as a cliffhanger, which is smart to do. And and remember what I also said on the podcast a few weeks ago. One of the reasons I actually, like what they're doing here. Why send Sheamus or Jeff Hardy to the finals of this tournament when you can get 2 matches out of it instead of 1? Hardy against Sheamus, and then Daniel Bryan against AJ Styles for the IC title in the finals. Although, strangely, they are doing the finals on the go-home episode of SmackDown. They're not even saving it for Backlash. They have a pay-per-view 2 days later, but they're doing the finals on the June 12th episode of SmackDown, which I don't quite understand. Outside of them just trying to pop a rating, I guess. But that can't possibly be. It's impossible. Because some of the geniuses on the internet have told me that ratings no longer matter. So surely that can't be it. We had an Otis and Mandy Rose segment. Oh my goodness. Out lounging by the pool. They had some peach champagne. Some peach champagne for his little peach. Mandy was going to take a nap in her beach chair. She had a dream. There was a dream sequence here. This was ripped right out of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I've not seen that movie in many, many years. Although who can forget Phoebe Cates coming out of the pool, just like Otis did here, right down to the music. They even use it. It sounded like a version of the music even from the movie. It's like a cover of the song, I think. Or at least it sounded like it. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie in a very long time. But they shared a steamy kiss. I mean, when I say they shared a steamy kiss, we had Otis and Mandy, they were sucking each other's faces here. This was no peck on the cheek. Then she woke up. Otis did a cannonball, splashed her. She was all wet. They knew what they were doing here in this segment. They get Mandy all wet, and she comes into the pool and makes out more. She has a whole makeout session with Otis. This was no dream. She has a whole makeout session with Otis in the pool. My man Otis is living his best life right now. We have Liv Morgan on TV, right, on Monday nights. They're doing these promos with her. Last week she talked about, or 2 weeks ago, she talked about how her mother can never hold a job. She was basically like insulting her mother. She was like, my mother can never hold a job. She tried, but it's very strange. This week she talked about how I'm living my best life, right? I mean, when I came to WWE, I was living my dream. I'm living my best life. Nah. Liv Morgan is not living her best life. You know who's living his best life? Otis. Otis is living his best life right now. He's got the Money in the Bank briefcase. He's making out on television with Mandy Rose. He has peaked. Unless he wins the championship, there's nothing more he could do. His career has peaked. It doesn't get any better than this for this guy. It's all downhill from there. I love this. I don't ever want them to break up.